that was taken to the state CID investigation, and his properties were seized as part of the investigation, and the case found itself in court, and I think he's won the case because I can see court papers before him. However, he still cannot get his car, and he's been threatened. And he will tell you the story of recent development, because the last time we talked about, he was supposed to go take the court judgment and all of that. So these are the things that we'll talk about. Then I'll come to you and you'll tell me, because you've been living in Rivers State and you know what you've been going through in terms of policing in Rivers State. It's not about me. It's not about Nigeria Info. It's about policing in Rivers State. And you tell me, I clap for them once upon a time, and you clap for them as well. So let's get to see if we're still clapping for them in this year 2024. I've got the National Legal Advisor for the Committee of Defense of Human Rights, Barrister Ekine, on the phone. Barrister, can you hear me? Hello, Barrister Ekine, can you hear me? I think something is wrong somewhere. Hello, Barrister, can you hear me? All right, maybe he's distracted or something, because I'm trying to reach out to him and I do not know why he's not responding. Okay, I guess there is a network issue there, so we'll get back to him. But Justus, welcome on the show. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Canada.
How are you? Are you okay?
Well, I'm not still okay.
Please use the mic.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you say you're not still okay. What do you mean by that? Please tell me.
My life is still under threat.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can't really say I'm feeling fine.
So from the last time I had a conversation where you told me the court had told them to return your properties, and what has happened? What has transpired since then?
Okay. The last time I was here, I pleaded. I was able to make an outcry for what has been happening to me, and as a matter of fact, I just came out from a hideout.
Okay.
And for security reasons, I can't really disclose.
Why are you still hiding? Why are you still in hiding?
Yesterday, at about 2 a.m. Yeah. Within the neighborhood, I got information that that some gunmen were in my premises where I live. For whatever reasons I don't know, of which I can link. It can be traced to the report I made. Is the official police report.
Okay.
The petition I wrote to the Commissioner of Police over threats to my life. So since then, nothing has been done. I've also been expecting a feedback from the Inspector General of Police as well. Still, nothing has been done, and I can't take that risk of going back to wherever I live for now.
So this is a petition before this document before me is a petition.
Yes.
To the Commissioner of Police.
Yes.
And you're saying that your life has been threatened by the names you mentioned here. These are the police officers.
No. These are.
Please use the mic so we can hear you properly.
No. For some reasons, because the police officers are just acting underground. Yes, underground. So, but these people were also threatening my life as well. So officially, since the police requested that I make an official report, so and nothing, even this police report petition I'm holding, nothing has been acted on it.
So why are they threatening your life? I just want to know.
Because the court has ordered that my properties within their hold should be released to me, and those properties, police have stolen them, they vandalized it, so there is no property to be released. So they're doing that in order to cover up their atrocities.
Okay. Barrister Ekine, can you hear me? Oh my. Barrister Ekine, can you hear me? Oh my goodness. All right. Let's try to reconnect once again, and let's see. Hopefully, we can have a better network service. So you have petitioned the Commissioner of Police. You have also petitioned the IGP,
Yes.
and yet there is still no favorable reports. For you.
Not yet.
Have you gone back to the court to tell them that this is what is happening?
Yeah, my lawyer was in court. That was on 18th of December, but fortunately the court did not sit.
Okay.
So, which the matter has been adjourned. So we're asked to come back 10th. So for some reasons I can't even move anyhow. I've just been on a low key.
When you say your life has been threatened, what is the police, the officers who are threatening you? What are they really saying? Are they?
Of course, they are telling me to, because the petition is strictly against the police officers directly involved.
Okay.
One, and also the exhibit keeper, and also these persons also mentioned. Now, the court instructed the police to release the properties. Is telling them it means they don't have anything to release.
Okay.
So whatever thing they are doing is just a pressure for me to come to pull out whatever expenses or damages they have also have.
And you're not ready to pull out, yeah?
No, not for that.
All right. Barrister Ekine, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Better now. I think I had to change the connection channel. But welcome on the show. So while we're trying to connect, while we're trying to connect with you, I have another guest here in the studio who was telling his story. I think you heard the story the last time, but he is now giving us new development about how he has been unable to get his properties that were seized when he was arrested by the state CID, the Rivers State CID. And he's insisting that there is some threat to life, not just by the police, but the people who worked with the police in the first place to arrest him. And I remember we established that the arrest was illegal because it was a civil matter. So, I mean, quickly, before we get to the case that you are handling, how would you advise us on this one?
Well, I understand that he's already in court. The matter is sub judice, and that's an interesting step he's taking. And that will mean that if the court has made any order, Justus would always say elementarily that every order of court must be obeyed, including state agents. If the court has made any order with relation to the release of any item that belongs to him that is in custody of the police, then they just have to release those items. And refusal to release those items, it is not refusal against the complainant, that is him there, but against the state, the police. I mean, and the court, and then the court can exercise the discretion and the power of the court to discipline and punish anybody who has refused to comply with the order of court. But except if his legal team, his lawyers have not made that request, that is, filed the appropriate application for the release of his property, and then if they haven't done that, I don't know, then they need to do that. And I think that if they do that, and then the affidavit contains the appropriate facts, that is, they are valid to the effect that the court, examining that affidavit and is convinced that that discretion should be exercised in his favor, and then the court orders that the police must release certain named property, they just would have to do that. Right. And let's imagine the implication of refusing to do that, because we know that sometimes they act with impunity in refusal, in disregard of orders of court. Then, of course, the court that knows and understands the power that is vested in that court, I mean the judge, we will the hard stick, and that is commit that person to contempt, and let the person show cause why he will not be committed to prison to serve some time.
Let me pause you now. But you said you have gone to court and the court has asked them to release your properties.
Exactly.
There's a document to that effect.
Oh, okay.
Yes, my lawyer is currently still. I was supposed to meet my lawyer even before coming here, but for some reasons we have rescheduled. So I was supposed to come with
The document.
Yes, sir.
So the case before the court has also been decided.
But for finalization, because it was supposed to be out of court settlement. Police is holding the properties and the parties are settling.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
Now the parties have settled, and for the police to release the property, there is no property to be released. So that is where their fear now.
Okay. So Barrister, what do you say at this point? I mean, the court has given an order. Let's hear you.
Yeah, it's good to hear from him that the matter has been decided, so that I wouldn't even fall foul of getting deeper in the merit of the matter being sub judice. So now I haven't been decided. And I do understand that is on terms. That is to say that they sought leave and court granted the leave, and then parties settled and agreed to some terms. And I would want to believe that they've reduced those terms in writing and filed in court, and the court would have adopted that as the judgment of the court if it's a civil matter that was instituted. If it's a criminal matter, then of course, after the settlement, you come back, then the prosecution would have withdrawn the charge, and then that matter would have ended. Then the order of court subsists. It doesn't matter whether the matter ended by way of settlement, and then parties have actually probably ended the matter mutually. The order of court that certain named property or items must be released by the police subsists, and they must release. Now, the failure of releasing, like I said, is contempt. And I say both on the side of the court and even disciplined by these police authorities. I had mentioned when we were discussing one of these matters that I do know that there were some police officers that had to be through interdiction for like 13 years. That is to say, they were investigating the certain allegation, and then some exhibits that were taken in custody by those officers. When eventually they were required to produce those, they are rappers actually, this women rapper, judges and all of that. Yes. And then when they failed to produce the actual number of rappers they took into custody, right? It was documented in the crime book or whatever diary entry that they had. And then there were about 6 of them. And that was when the police was working. About 6 of them went through interdiction. That is to say, for the 13 years they were standing trial, they were not promoted. They were paid, I think, half salaries or something. That's a punishment. Okay. Until the determination of that matter, those that were found guilty were consequently punished. Those that were exonerated were then probably repaid whatever money that was held back, and then but they lost any opportunity of promotion and all of that. These are the kind of things we expect. That when police officers take anybody's item, the reason the law requires that you will have to have an inventory of those items when you arrest a person and take him into custody. List them down, and then you have a responsibility and a duty to produce them. Because those items, that even when they are exhibits for the purpose of prosecuting that person, if at the end of prosecution and then the criminal suspect is discharged, you have a duty, a responsibility to return his items, especially when they are not even exhibits. Because I know that sometimes these officers, upon arrest, they even take things that are not connected to the alleged offense, that would not in any way constitute any exhibit to prove any element of the offense alleged to have been committed. So, but they still hold them in. Now you are investigating probably a crime of assault or fighting or something, but because somebody drove a vehicle, then in that case you took the person's vehicle as well. Did the vehicle engage in the fight? The vehicle could have engaged in the fight, but you took the vehicle and you kept the vehicle in your custody. It can't be an exhibit for the police to prosecute and establish any elements of affray or assault or anything in connection with that fight between 2 individuals. So then you have a duty to produce. But I think his lawyers, I believe they know and they understand what steps to take.
All right, let me pause you now. We have a commercial coming back. In the next couple of minutes, I'll be back. But I want us to deal with the issue of threat to life. And this is not coming from another civilian, but this is coming from a state actor or state actors, the police, that have been saddled with the responsibility to secure you and I, and now threatening you and I. What do we do in that situation, given that there is the order of court that is yet to be obeyed? So when we come back from the commercial, I'd like to get your thoughts on that, and then we'll go to the matter that happened in your area.
All right.
All right, 26 minutes gone past the hour of 4. If you're just joining us, you're welcome. I'm Kalada Kurubatabo. This is Hard Facts and 92.3 Nigeria Info. I have with me two wonderful gentlemen. One is the National Legal Advisor for the Committee of Defense for Human Rights, Barrister Ekine. And I have someone who says is rights is currently being abused by the police in Rivers State. And of course, we are talking about the Rivers Police Command and human rights abuse in, of course, in Rivers State. Welcome back, gentlemen. It's good to have you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kalada.
Yeah, thank you, Kalada.
Okay, so, yeah, thank you. All right, so before we went on the break, I talked about threat to life done by state actors, but let's quickly get Mr. Justus Oladele tell us some new information. Off air, you said your cousin was attacked while you were away.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me the story.
While I was not around for security reasons, I learned this police came in to my house and wanted to forcefully take my brother along with them, just like a bait to have me, and he refused. So it took the effort of the neighbors. As I speak right now, he's seriously hospitalized, and I learned 247 some gunmen. How they were able to know that they were even policemen was that the guns they were holding was labeled Nigerian Police Force in NPF, or they were not putting on their uniforms. I can't even visit him in the hospital, and while he's still there, so I've just been trying to just avoid every reason why I could break the law as well.
So over to you now, Ekine. Threat to life by state actors. How do we handle this?
That's completely and utterly unlawful and illegal. If the arrest was for any reason to get at the gentleman in the studio, then we have said repeatedly that to attempt to arrest a relative of a criminal suspect, so you could get at the criminal suspect, maybe because he's gone under for security reasons, and then they wanted to, that is if it is arrest, they wanted to arrest him again, and because they couldn't find him, they wanted to get his brother. That's arrest in proxy. And we have said that's been prohibited under the Police Act. That is their own law, the Police Act. You can't arrest a person when you do not have a clear allegation of commission of an offense that is known to law, right? Because there is no section of any of our substantive criminal laws that provide to the effect that somebody who is related to a criminal suspect would have committed an offense just by reason of that relationship. There is no such offense. So that's one. Then another is, let's assume that they even want to label another allegation against the cousin or brother of the gentleman in the studio for the justification of the arrest. Then another criminal element is you cannot torture a citizen because you want to arrest a person. It's also prohibited. The Police Act has prohibited every form of torture and every form of inhumane treatment, every form of brutalization, assault, because all of these are also crimes. So if the police is established under the Constitution and the Police Act to prevent crime, then they shouldn't be found to be committing crime. The Anti-Torture Act has prohibited and criminalized torture. So imagine him now telling the entire world that state agents would have any reason and any justification to beat up, assault, injure, and torture a citizen that wasn't armed and wasn't confronting the state agents who themselves were armed. And then you torture this citizen to the extent that he's been hospitalized. That is criminal in itself. In fact, all of those police officers that came there are at best described as criminals. But you know that you cannot say anybody is a criminal absolutely, except until the court determines that person has committed an offense.
Of course.
But then you say they are criminal suspects. So just as they too had come to arrest that criminal suspect, then those police officers who have conducted themselves criminally are criminal suspects. And they also can be arrested. They're not immune from criminal prosecution. Police officers are not immune from criminal prosecution. Because, that's that aspect of it. Then again, their rights, that's the criminal aspect. The civil aspect is that the right of that citizen to dignity of a human person that is protected under Section 34 of the Constitution right? Which also includes the right to be treated humanely with fair treatment, not to be tortured. Because the provision in the Police Act is drawn from the foundation of Section 34 of the Constitution.
Okay.
That to the extent that even the Police Act says if searching any criminal suspect, you must do so with respect and regard to his person, his dignity, in such a manner that you will not disgrace and embarrass him in the eyes of maybe onlookers or bystanders or a third party. So it's apparently a violation of the rights of that citizen, a violation of the provisions of the criminal laws in this country. Then for the gentleman in the studio, the continuous threat is also prohibited under the Anti-Torture Act. I have explained that by the Anti-Torture Act, torture has been expanded in terms of description and definition, so that citizens wouldn't just think that it's until physical injuries, bodily injuries are inflicted on a person. That's when it says been tortured, like the case of Chuma Ikunado or Onyekwere in those days. But this time, if you even threaten a citizen with arrest and detention, if you threaten a citizen, right, you will shoot the citizen, or you threaten a citizen that you will kill the citizen, it's torture.
Okay.
Because there are people who, by mere threatening them that you would send them to jail, they may have psychological damage. A youngest, my sister was just talking with me this afternoon, and she was like, brother, here in the UK, that if you even just merely touched people who were fighting, that you wanted to separate and there are no injuries, you will say by reason of you holding the hand of that person that he has suffered some psychological trauma and that he wants to stay in the house for 2 weeks. You will pay damages for that person staying in the house for 2 weeks and staying out for. But I don't know what is happening in this society. Now the police has tortured someone and he's been forced to be hospitalized, perhaps losing some opportunity for economic benefit. Either his time, the cost of this medication, and if he's working, he's out of work. If he's self-employed, he's out of employment, and we just do everything without care.
How do we get to fight the situation? Now, this reminds me of the 80 million naira and some other properties collected from that guy who is said to be the pipeline in charge of the pipeline surveillance. And I remember the person who made sure that he sought the case to the end, Israel Joe, did say that they had to fight, irrespective of all the threats. So how can we fight this situation? How can we ensure that despite all of the threats, these police officers and everybody involved will have to obey the law or face the wrath of the law?
Our slogan at the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights is my right is my right is my right, and your right is your right is your right. Now, when you have this conviction, then of course you will tenaciously stand to defend your right. And that is one exceptional character that every comrade, every member of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights has been trained and of course internalized. And that's what Israel Joe, all the comrades that came from Delta, and those of us who are here stood and we spoke firmly. And we had to insist that whatever needed to be done to uphold the supremacy of our laws, and then of course to protect the rights of citizens to their property, which is about the gentleman whose property was taken away, just like the man in the studio. So what you need to do first is you have to continually empower yourself with the knowledge about the rights that are valuable to you. That's why we continue to educate people and enlighten people about their rights, both fundamental rights. And then when you know this, you must be able to speak up and stand for your right, not going from agencies who are willing to even go the extreme. That's like the case in Ekine. But you insist to the extent that you let them understand that they are violating the laws. You also insist by taking steps to enforcing your rights. There are citizens that just give in too early and wouldn't want to enforce their rights. I had said when I spoke to some media, your colleagues who we interviewed, that the challenges that human rights advocates face, sometimes we are advocating and standing firmly to enforce the rights of victims of rights abuse, but you find that they are compromising.
Okay, so in this case, in this case, I don't think there's a compromise, but can we?
Yes, excellent. No, of course, I commend the gentleman in the studio. He has taken the steps that he needed to take. He spoke and stood by his right. He's defending, if he has defended and enforced his right. So the court has made a pronouncement about the violation of his right, and he enforced his right to his property. Now, this right has been pronounced by the court. Now, the refusal by state agents to release his property is a violation of the rule of law. That is the disobedience to the orders of court. Because the pronouncements of court themselves are laws. And what happens thereafter? His counselor, like I said, they know what to do. They will go back to the court and file the necessary forms, Form 48 and Form 49, and they will commit the police officers that are responsible to serve terms. Do you know what the Anti-Torture Act even said, to the extent that when any police officer or any of the other arresting and detaining authorities, if one of your junior officers commit, the officer that is in charge of that unit or that formation is accountable equally. So that if it is a division and police officers from a division, because they think they are rank and file, and go and violate people's rights, the divisional police officer by the Anti-Torture Act is expected to account for it. So he can actually also be drawn into the culpability of the actions of his officers. Right. So they will produce. They have to just, if there is evidence that they took those things and they were in inventory, they should apply. Of course, his lawyers, I believe they have done so. They will apply for certified copies of that record book that took inventory of his items. If they were denying. But if they are not denying, then they have no excuse to procure. You see this thing about the money you were talking about? Yeah. They had actually shared those monies.
Yeah.
Do you know we even knew the amounts, who got what?
Interesting.
A certain lady lawyer, the IPO, and who took the gold chain and all of that. Some may have probably started expending maybe their spoils. But when the chips were down, they may rally themselves in borrow. So we must use all those things that the gentleman claiming that they had.
Let's pause here now. Let's come to the issue in Ekine because time is fast spent. But before we do that, just so you know, you file Form 48, Form 49, so that you can actually follow the matter and the police officers made to face the wrath of the law. So Form 48, if I remember, I think it has to do with contempt of court. Then Eric, 49, Form 49 is for what exactly?
49 is like giving you a notice that look, you will be committed if you fail to comply with the order of court.
What about the threat? What about the threat? How do you tell the court that they're threatening your life?
Yes, the threat aspect of it, you enforce it. Like I said, they file a fundamental rights. You see, the thing about the fundamental rights under Section 46 is that whether the right has been violated, is likely to be violated, or is being violated, you can enforce. So where my right is likely to be violated, you don't have to kill me first before I enforce the protection of my right. You are likely to kill me because you've threatened and you have the ability and capacity to so do, and you've been doing it. I have instances where you have extrajudicially killed people.
So
so it should be prevented.
Form 46, 48, and 49. All right, let's go to Ekine now. The story, is it still alive? Do we know anything now?
Kalada, I can tell you for a fact, because of the evidence, or rather the statements of fact by eyewitnesses and people who were there, that the gentleman was killed by men of the Nigeria Police Force from Ekine Division. They shot at him. We've even got more facts. In fact, a few days ago, when we are determined in pursuit of rights of citizens, a few days ago we were in Ekine. We were around that community. We had direct interviews with some members of the family, and even we've spoken with some eyewitnesses. I can give an account of exactly what even happened. So there is no doubt, and the police have never denied the fact that they didn't shoot at Livingstone Egbuluka on that morning of Monday, 25th of December. They took him in that van back to their station. They were, in fact, a relative, a younger brother of that Livingstone Egbuluka, whom we have also interviewed, followed the van and got to that station. Of course, the usual way police would want to chase you out and all of that. He insisted and got close to even that white Hilux van and saw the blood of his brother still on it when they have taken the brother off the van. So there is no doubt about whether Livingston Ekuluka is alive. In fact, the women and community people, it's an open place within that first community. We got to that junction, where they call Eluma Junction, on the east-west road, close to Mbiama. As you are heading towards Mbiama before the bridge, there's a junction by the left side. Yes, Eluma Junction. Yeah. And then as soon as you get into that road, there's the first community. That should be the Odio boy, I think, before the Odio Pity, so that I don't mix it up. Then another community further ahead. 3 communities on that track road. So there are bike men running. In fact, the 2 communities of Odiobo and Odiopiti are not like, you can't separate them. It's just like between where they call Akionisi or One Man Country and Akinema. You wouldn't know when you've got into the next community. So definitely, if at the spot where the scene where they shot the young man, women and people, bike men stopped and gathered. Names have been mentioned.
Names of police officers?
Names of people who were there.
Oh, okay.
Even the name of a police officer was mentioned because they know them. This is a van that usually comes around. It's the surveillance team, they say, that usually comes around to probably.
Okay. Now, Eric, because of time.
They've not denied it, and they can't deny any facts of the killing of Ekuluka.
Because of time.
If they have not killed him, they should bring him.
Now, because of time, I want to know what was the offense. Was he carrying a gun? Was he terrorizing the area? Was he? What was the offense according to eyewitnesses? Can you tell me?
Excellent. Kalada, it's only the police that would answer that. But from the point of view of relatives, Livingston Ekuluka is not known to be a criminal in that community. He's not a wanted person. Was not on the run in any way. Does not even have any problem with the police.
Okay.
This is a person that lives in the community like every other normal person. In fact, some suspected criminals in some communities will hardly even live publicly. In fact, if the mother was telling us that morning, the young man was even cooking for the family that morning. When he woke up that Friday, that is such a homely person. The widow was crying that these sons have become her husband. So including Livingston Ekuluka, who has a wife and 2 children. The wife and the children, they were with us. The wife spoke to us. The young man that morning was cooking for the cooked rice. He wasn't in hiding, cooked rice. His friends came to the house. And then after he dropped the pot of rice, the mother was like, the friends came with him, and he strolled out with the friends. The next thing the mother was there in less than 30 minutes, that they've shot her son. So the police hasn't come out to even say a word to us. I said here that the police public relations officer in Rivers State, the only response to us was that she sent a text message to me after we had spoken. We sent first a message to her on WhatsApp. She asked that we should send as SMS, which we did. Then I called and we spoke, and she said she will reach out to the DPO and get back to us. This is 1 week plus. She hasn't directly speaking to say, "Oh, gentlemen, I have called the DPO. This is account." But what she did after I followed up again was to send a text message, say, "Bring them to the office." Just that. The text message with us. And I responded, I said, "Can you please make it definite? Tell us what day, what time." These people are in Akinema. I can't just bring them in when we get to the station. Oh, PPRO is not around. Then I leave my office and keep waiting for one police officer. I have my job. So give me a definite time and a definite day so that I bring them. You have an appointment. If I get to your gate and your agents are there, I tell them I have an appointment with these people with the PPRO. There's no response to that.
Did you have any interaction with the DPO of Akinema? What has he said concerning this issue? Because usually there is a statement, there is an excuse.
I have not personally spoken with the DPO, and nobody has. Look at what we did. We instructed, while we're here in Port Harcourt, we instructed the relatives to go to the division and seek to see the highest officer, the DPO, or the divisional crime officer. They've gone there 3 times. Their voices on record are available, which we will circulate to the media. They've gone there 3 times and the police chased them away. That was why we had to go on the hierarchy of the Nigerian police. We have reached out to the Inspector General of Police. The DPO is not my staff. It's the staff of the Inspector General of Police. He should check on them and ask them questions. Sometimes with the way we worship these authorities and state agents, they are our servants. They are employed and they are being paid salaries.
All right.
At the state level, I'll reach out to the Commissioner of Police, and we wanted to manage the image of the police. That's why we reach out to the police public relations officer. It is her duty to report to the Commissioner of Police or the Commissioner of Police herself to reach out to the DPO. They have the phone number of the DPO.
Okay, I would have to
But
post.
we got the phone number of DPO. We tried to reach the DPO really anyway, and there was no response.
Okay, maybe you would forward the DPO's number to me, and I'll see how.
Yes, we do have afford you.
Because, by the way, Justus, I tried to call the IPO. The number you sent to me wasn't reachable. I should put it out there. I tried to reach out to him to find out why. Things have panned out the way they have, and the number wasn't going through. So, I mean, I gave up on that idea.
Then just to add, Kalada, sorry, so that the complaint response unit, all right, at the Office of the Inspector General of Police Force Headquarters, responded that they had acknowledged receipt of our complaint, and then that it was being investigated, and they sent a tracking number. But they haven't spoken. They haven't got back to us. I don't know how long it takes for the police hierarchy to get across to the DPO. I know because I was part of the system. I know what the police do. They will send a signal. It's as fast and quick as anything from force headquarters to the commissioner of police down to the DPO, and the DPO should account to the commissioner of police. I was
going to say maybe you should do another call, put across another call to the complaint unit of the Inspector General of Police. I probably should use that number as well. But
I appreciate that advice, but as lawyers, we know where to go and ask them. That's where we'll get the orders, and they will produce him there.
All right, then. Let's pause you. Let's go to the phone line. So the question I'm throwing at you listening right now is, judging the police in the past 1 year, how would you say their attitude is like? Remember, we once had a conversation about the attitude of policemen and, the move by the police force to ensure that they read the police off the bad eggs, right? And they read the police off the bad eggs, and they're trying to paint a good image, and that's why you see them doing a lot of public relations on social media, especially X. You see them, coming up with the complaint units, like Ekine has just mentioned. So I would like to hear from you. How would you judge policing in Rivers State, especially the attitude of police officers? Have you seen any change? What complaints do you have? We'd like to hear. Remember, this is not just criticizing the police, because we are talking for development. We want better service from the police force. Like American said, they're working for us and they're servicing, the security, and we are paying our taxes. So let's hear from you. And you could also react to either of the stories as told by Justus or as told by Henry. Let's get your thoughts. The phone numbers are open. We've got limited time. 08179230002 and 08179230003. WhatsApp, use the number 0809 0306416. While I'm waiting for the call screener to come through with your name and your location, I'm just quickly going to read some messages on WhatsApp. It says, let's see, what time is this? Okay. Good evening, Kalada and your guest. I am Jeremiah from Aba. It's quite appalling and excruciating how those we believe to be our friends are now the ones making life difficult for us. And then you said I will rate them 50 over 100. But you're in Aba. I'm wondering how you're rating the police, your police in Rivers State. But this one says, good evening, Kalada. To be honest, if you know the high level of crime a few years ago in Rivers State, you will attest to it that the police officers in the state are doing better. Out of the east and west, Abua, Oldwa, Ogba, Egoma, Indoni, Emoa, Ikwere, Eche, Omuma, Ogoni, Andoni areas, including Obiakpo LJs, were besieged by hoodlums, but today there are few, or you said, pockets of insecurity in the state. I commend them for their doggedness. Emioka Monday for JP from Auda. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Ekine from Ubumini, welcome. Ekine, what is on your mind? Quickly, tell me.
In Canada, I rate them 35%.
Okay.
Because throughout last year, the way we are hearing the brutality by the police to the masses or the civilians in this state seems like we are fighting ourselves. If not the local vigilante that made every nook and cranny of this our state to be at least in the minimized way of security. I don't think that these police people had helped matter. Imagine we are a policeman, we shoot or shot a family of, or shot a man before his family and all that. Now, imagine 25th of December, where everyone is expecting or was expecting to receive everybody in his family. Somebody was shot dead by a policeman. Are they our friends or our family?
All right, is it
When
can
the former commissioner initiated what he called his police is your friend of the team by the PRO, she was telling us on how we should cooperate with the police.
Okay.
But unfortunately, we are still hearing the way the police officers are manhandling people in this state.
Is it can
So
I've got to go? Is it can I've got to go? Thank you very
much.
much. I've got Ilumba. Sorry, please do call back if you can. But let's read some more messages while I'm waiting for your calls. Let's see. This one says. Oh, so many messages. Where do I start from? Please, I hope it is even safe to mention that the guest is in the studio. Hope those officers cannot pick him from your studio. I will find a way for him to escape. You know, it's hide and seek now. We do these days. This was it's good evening, Canada. Please tell that guy to find his way to Human Rights Radio. Okay, in Abuja. They are more suited in these dealings. Okay, if you say so. That's Brekete you mentioned. Brekete family in Abuja. This says all this police brutality in the state is fast becoming unbearable. I don't understand why police, whose duty it is to protect citizens, will turn to be, killing the people. Christian William from Igboiche is pondering on that one. This one says, good evening, Canada. It will take only God in heaven to change the Nigeria police. Their attitude has not changed a bit. It gets worse every day that passes by. General Manuski with that one. Point of correction, we are not being protected by police, rather we are protected by OSPAC and maybe, but OSPAC is not everywhere. I don't know. I do see police doing one or two things for us. Elechi from LNY. Elechi, welcome. Quickly with your thoughts, please.
Yeah,
I like to hear.
Good evening.
Yeah.
My advice to the Nigerian police and the Commissioner of River State is that he should go, especially standby police, what do they call them? They should go on.
Are you there?
Yeah, because most of them, they lack that discipline and control, that's why you see they're having kind of like in the force. They're having kind of like this thing between the Nigerian police, Nigerian Navy, and Army.
Oh, sorry about that. I guess there's something wrong with your connection. Sorry about that. Do call back if you can. So we'll go for a quick commercial break, a very quick one. When we come back, I'll take your final words. Henry Ekine, I'll take your final words, and I'll take your final words, Justus Oladele, because time is fast spent. And I do enjoy the conversation, and I hope you listening, you enjoy it too, because we've learned a thing or two. We've learned about how we can handle threats from state actors. You go to court and enforce your human rights. We've also heard, how to ensure that we need to learn the laws. We need to know the laws so we can know when our human rights are being trampled upon. But we'll come back. When we do, we'll take the final words from the guests who are, a part of the conversation this hour. All right, time is not our friend, especially when we're having a great conversation. If you're just joining us, I am Kalada Karubatibo, and you're listening to Hard Facts, and we've been talking about Rivers Police Command and human rights abuse. We've been trying to, do an appraisal of policing in Rivers State, and some people have given thoughts. We'll continue with this during the open season, but for now, I'd like to get their final thoughts. So I'll start with you, Justus. What do you want Rivers people to do? How do you want them to join in this your fight for your human rights?
Yes. First of all,
once again, use the mic, please.
Yeah. First of all, I'm trying to do everything possible to ensure that I remain very civil, and also just speaking on behalf of every other person that is oppressed by the Nigeria police, threatening their life, and those that they have secretly executed, killed.
And that's an heavy allegation. We don't have proof to that, so we won't do that. But I know there are stories like that. But
yes, I'm trying to also call the awareness of Nigerians, everyone, to know what the Nigerian police is doing correctly. And also, for me, I would really want this to have been settled the best possible way. But I don't want the Nigeria police to really push citizens to the wall, and where that could make them break law and order.
All right, please do not break any law and order. Ekine, your turn. Someone is asking your number, by the way. He says, please, how can I get Ekine's number? Stephen from Ajib.
It's okay. I think you can get it from your studio.
Okay, so your final words.
Yeah, my quick remark, finally, is that yes, I agree in one of your comments that the police has quite been helpful in terms of combating crime, preventing crime. But they are our servants, so we have to continually talk about the things they haven't done and the things that they are not doing right. Okay. We would say here at the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, we will not praise you eternally for the things you have done, because there are a lot more you have to do. And that's why we continue to draw the attention of government and state agents to do the things that they haven't done. I have a lot of respect for very professional police officers. A number of them just not permitted to mention their names, even here in the state command. But then we'll have to continually draw the attention of the authorities to those who are inept, those who are crass, and those who are errant, and those who indeed are even damaging the image of the police, and also making useless, if you like, the pursuit of the Commissioner of Police and the Inspector General of Police to enhance the image of the police. So that is not really a condemnation of the police in its entirety. Citizens should always seek knowledge and understanding of fundamental rights, and of course, everything about the law that govern you. These laws are for you. If you don't know them, then anybody could just come and then take your right away from you. And Fela said that your right is your property, and nobody will dash you your right. All right. So, Happy New Year and prosperous New Year to everyone.
All right. Happy New Year to you. Thank you very much for your time and your opinion, and of course, the lecture you've given to us. We do appreciate. Do have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.